Hey everybody, this is Puka bringing you the finals of the Virginia State Championship between Michael Pramawat on the right and Curran Hill on the left. I apologize, the video started a little bit into Michael's first turn, so catch up on the action a little bit. We do see two Tynamos on Michael's bench and a Mewtwo EX in the active spot. He's played a Pokegear and now an Oak's New Theory, so we'll catch up as he draws his 6 cards. Now, this is the first time we're seeing this solo Terrakion deck. Just plays 4 Terrakion and nothing else, and of course Michael is using Zekrom Electric, so we'll really get a chance to see how Curran's deck actually works against one of the top players in the world. Of course, Michael has been a perennial Worlds competitor, took 2nd place at the 2010 World Championship, and also made top 32 last year. Always seems to do well every year, and here he is again in the finals. Curran Hill, of course, a very good player as well. He actually won Nationals and Worlds in Seniors, and he's still doing very well in Masters after he has aged up. So, definitely 2 of the best players in the world clashing here. We'll see which one comes out on top. Now, Curran actually looks like he did go first, so he got the first energy attachment on his Terrakion, and this is his 2nd turn. He's playing N. He actually had the switch to switch out his Terrakion that had 0 energy on it, and he's going to promote the new Terrakion with a fighting energy and a rescue energy on it. So he's going to play that N, get 6 new cards, both players will, and I'm sure he's looking for a Lost Remover here to get rid of that double colorless on that Mewtwo EX, but I don't think he has one, and he also didn't draw a catcher. That would have been his other preferred card to draw. So he's just going to be settling for Retaliate for 30. Not really what he wanted to have happen here, but hey, that's all he's got to work with. So Michael's in a pretty good spot. You know, even though he didn't go first, he had the turn 1 Mewtwo hitting for 40 with X-Ball. Now this turn he'll be able to hit Terrakion for 80. And really he's just going to be hoping to overrun Curran with an onslaught of Mewtwo's or even Tornadus and Zekrom. Really, he's just going to try to hope that Curran runs out of Terrakions or maybe misses an energy drop somewhere. And, you know, the main life source for Curran is going to be EXP share. And we do see Michael plays another catcher, so he's targeting down that Terrakion with no energy on it. Trying to kind of pick off a free Terrakion. You know, if Curran doesn't have a switch, this is going to be a big momentum swing. But anyway, for Curran, the big card is going to be EXP share, and it looks like he just drew a switch there, so things are going well so far for him. EXP share. Every time his active Terrakion gets knocked out, he'll be able to take a fighting energy off of it and attach it to the Terrakion that has an EXP share. So, basically every time he gets knocked out, a new Terrakion will get a fighting, and then he'll attach another one, and he can retaliate for 90. So, the way this deck works is, starting from the 3rd turn, you're pretty much always going to do 90 damage every single turn, unless you miss an energy drop or you miss an EXP share. None of that is happening so far, so everything is going pretty well for Curran. Once again, oh, actually, it looks like he does. Nope, I was going to say he has a Lost Remover, but that plus power tricked me. Curran does play 3 Lost Removers, I believe, so any double colorless that Michael would have on the field would be in danger of just being removed. That's what makes it so difficult to use Mewtwo EX in this matchup. Now Michael does have another double colorless in his hand, so he could actually attach that this turn and get a big knockout on this first Terrakion. Kind of put Curran on the back foot and make him have a lot of resources in order to keep up. So he actually decided not to for some reason. I don't know why. I definitely would have liked him to go for the knockout here and put some pressure back on Curran, because the way you can beat this Terrakion deck is just to knock out Terrakions so quickly that they don't have resources to get another one out. There's only 4 Pokemon in the deck, so there's a lot of stress on finding these cards like Heavy Ball and Revive, and even EXP share, and even your energy. If you miss any one of those at any point, you could just end up benching out and losing the game before your opponent even takes all 6 prizes. So you really want to take every opportunity to knock out a Terrakion if possible. And just surprised to see that Michael didn't take that opportunity here. Instead, well, actually, he only needs a lightning energy, so I take that back. He just needs a lightning energy this turn, or a plus power. So attaching the double colorless was not a big deal. Maybe he would have been safer attaching the double colorless, but he probably assumed, hey, I'm going to draw an energy off of this or a plus power. And of course he did. So I take back everything I just said. Everything's just fine. And Curran does get that Terrakion back in his hand, but this turn he's going to need a fighting and another EXP share, otherwise he's probably going to fall behind in this game. If the Terrakion train ever stops, I mean, if you ever miss a turn where you can't retaliate after a knockout, this deck gets a lot weaker. You really need to start doing 90 from the 3rd turn and do it every turn. Otherwise, this deck really isn't that strong. There is a big drop-off from when you do 90, and then if you miss a turn, you then do 0 for a turn, and then next turn you probably won't be able to retaliate either. For 90, you'll probably be doing 30. So there's 2 big turns there where you're going to miss out on doing doing 90 damage, which, I mean, if you're doing 0 then 30, that means you're missing out on 150 damage, which all just comes down to missing an energy. So really, I can't stress enough the importance of these EXP shares and these energy attachments and being able to get the Terrakions out. For the time being, it looks like Curran is completely set. He's going to be able to retaliate this first Mewtwo for a knockout. He's going to have an EXP share for his next Terrakion. So for the next few turns, he's going to be completely set. He also has an energy in his hand. And he's going to play Juniper. So, really liking Curran's spot at this point. He did go first, so he did have the advantage, but from here on out, he's going to have pretty much everything go his way in terms of energy attachments, and he'll be fine. So this first Mewtwo certainly is going down here, and it looks like another heavy ball is being played here. We'll see. Okay, he doesn't have any Terrakions prized. He's got all 4 out there, and those are his only 4 Pokemon in the entire deck, so just playing heavy ball to get rid of it in case of an N. That way he doesn't draw back into the heavy ball. And he's figuring, alright, I already got Terrakion's bench. Why not bench the 4th one? So, here he's gonna get that Retaliate, and he's got the 3 energy in his hand. But if he doesn't top deck another supporter, I think he's kind of running dry after this point. Looks like the only supporter in his hand is maybe a black belt. Is that what I saw? And he doesn't have anything else. He just got 3 fighting, a catcher, a lost remover, yep, and a black belt. So he will get 2 cards off the prizes, but if he doesn't get a supporter somewhere, he's really going to be relying on just his attachments, and that's not a spot he wants to be in. So I can't tell how much damage is on that Terrakion. It might be 100 actually. He got an X-Ball for 40 on the first turn, and then an X-Ball for 60 on the second turn. So yes, it could be in range for a Mischievous Punch knockout. So little Tyrogue could take down the big bull. Don't see that every day. That could be a pretty big deal here. And there is a second Electric. See if you got any other Pokemon to go with that. It's going to be something to note. Should be at least 1 Lightning in his discard pile. And he's going to play a Junk Arm. Not sure what he's getting there. Maybe a Dual Ball. It's a close call. Yep, there's a Dual Ball, so he's going to Junk Arm right for that. Get the flips here. And I don't know, did he get a heads? It doesn't look like he got a heads. Looks like 2 tails, so that Junk Arm was completely wasted, which is very unfortunate. And yes, there's only 1 Lightning in the discard pile, so things not really going Michael's way so far. He would really like to have more energy in his discard pile at this point. And there we go. Looks like Tyrogue stays asleep, so there's a helpful Tails at least. But as we know, Curran already has a catcher in his hand, And yep, he's going to target down an electric. And he's going to play a heavy ball to get rid of it. And it looks like he did top deck in Oak's New Theory, so he will have a supporter here. I don't know if he wants to play it this turn, but that's very useful for him in the coming turns. Otherwise, he would probably run out of gas if he didn't draw a supporter eventually. From here, he's in a very good position. He'll be up a prize, and just going to play a plus power to get rid of it. And he will use the Oak's New Theory this turn, probably trying to draw into those EXP shares, which is what he'll need to really keep up. But I don't see this Terrakion being knocked out next turn. That would be his biggest concern. So he'll actually have a turn to attach an extra energy, and you know, I think Curran's got a pretty good hold on this game right now. Unless, oh, and there goes the camera. Just want to say thank you, big shout out to Ben Potter for knocking over that camera. You can see Michael obviously is disturbed and annoyed by Ben knocking over this camera, and for the time being you'll have this awkward view of the game. And hopefully Ben will reposition this camera sometime soon. Apologize for this, but technical difficulties do happen, especially when Ben Potter's on the job. He decided to take his anger out on our tripod, apparently, and we're gonna have to deal with this camera angle. So hope you don't get sick to your stomach easily from things moving around. Here's a Super Rod from Michael, shuffling in a Mewtwo, a Tynamo, and an Electric. And then he's going to play an N, so ooh, this could be a big opening in terms of Curran missing his energy drops and stuff like that. This can be a big game changer, depending on who draws what. We could see Michael power up one big Mewtwo at the end and kind of power through, or if he really doesn't draw anything, it could be some trouble. And it looks like Curran actually drew a pretty solid hand. He got a EXP share, a catcher, and then an N as well. So Michael's just going to go ahead and bring up that Terrakion with the EXP share on it. That's one way he could catch up as well. If Curran doesn't have the switch in his hand, he wouldn't be able to switch to the Terrakion with energy. So even though EXP share is pretty cool, just putting a Terrakion down with no energy and an EXP share can be a pretty big liability. And, oh, looks like Michael's going to have to just charge this turn, which is not what he wants to do this late in the game. And yes, he's going to have to use charge. I don't even think he attached that turn. He did have a lightning in his hand, just decided not to play it. So that's certainly not something you want to see. And Curran top-decked a Professor Juniper, which is the absolute best card he could have hoped to draw. And, you know, I gotta say, he'll probably draw into a Junk Arm or a Switch and get that Terrakion out of the active spot. And Michael's just gonna be in a ton of trouble if that happens. So here are the 7 cards. Actually, I don't see any. So he's just gonna attach to the active. That's probably gonna be the end of his turn, actually. Yeah, so Curran has to pass. Even though he drew that Juniper, he didn't draw exactly what he needed, so kind of a big deal. And there, oh, Michael has a switch of his own. Look at that. And there's another N. So he's going to make Curran pretty much just waste a Juniper that turn. He got to play it. He only got to play one card. So that Juniper is just gone for the rest of the game. And he also discarded an N with that Juniper. So that N's a pretty big deal. Wasted a lot of resources of Curran for really nothing. Unless Curran were to draw another Juniper off of his 3 cards, which of course he does. So never mind that, and we're going to see a Disaster Volt for 80. Michael's probably feeling pretty safe in this position, but I think we can all see that he shouldn't really be feeling safe at all, considering what's in Curran's hand. He's going to have a Junk Arm for a catcher, I would think, and then a Juniper. So just waiting to see what Curran decides to do here. His other option is just to switch, and then Juniper and Disaster Volt. Or not Disaster Volt, Land Crush, I apologize. He's going to play the plus power and a Juniper, so it's 2 N's in a row, and 2 Junipers off of the N both times. Pretty fortunate for Curran, but I'm sure there were a lot of supporters left in his deck, so not too unheard of. When you're playing N this late in the game, you're just kind of hoping that your opponent doesn't draw too much off of it. And in fact, there's a catcher as well. Electric's going to go down. And this is just getting uglier and uglier for Michael. I don't know how he's going to respond to this, really. I don't think there's a way out at this point. You know, this turn he could Disaster Volt for 80. He's actually going to check to see how many cards are left in Curran's deck. This is one cute way that Michael could win. If Curran runs out of energy and switches, he could just keep catching out a Terrakion that has no energy on it, and possibly stall out the game, where Curran is just stuck with no way to attack him. Terrakion does have a 4 retreat cost, so we're going to see an N, a third one out of Michael, hoping this time that Curran really doesn't get anything, but even if he doesn't, I think his deck is pretty much autopilot from here on out. Maybe Michael could catcher out the Terrakion with an EXP share and no energy on it and get something going there. But other than that, I don't really see a way for him to buy any time. His main goal is going to be to set up Tornadus or Mewtwo, something that can survive a hit and deal with these Terrakions without being knocked out immediately. But I don't really know if he has anything like that. And he's going to catcher out the Terrakion with no energy and no EXP share. And kind of hope for the best, I think. So he's going to Dynamotor as well, looks like. There's only 2 energy in his discard pile, so he might just put one on Electric. And yep, looks like that's what he's going to do. And then Charge. Charge, like 15 minutes into the game, isn't exactly your ideal situation. And looks like Curran once again has a Juniper off of his N. So that's 3 in a row where Michael ends him to a low hand size, and then Curran just says, that was cool, bro, but I go up to 7 now. But he's got to be careful. See how many cards are left in his deck. If he has like 10 cards left in his deck, and looks like, oh, changed something up there. Not sure what just happened. Curran might have passed, and yeah, I think that is actually what happened. These players are going so quickly that I don't know what's actually going on. So I think Curran just does not want to play that Juniper, and he top decks a Junk Arm, so he'll be able to switch, but he wants to wait for that Tyrogue to wake up first. And we've entered quite an awkward situation. Now, we do see Curran has an N in his hand to prevent himself from decking out, but it looks like Michael just kind of wants to sit there with Tyrogue and pick away at the Terrakion. Alright, but now Curran does have a Junk Arm, and he'll be able to switch. So he's going to discard the Black Belt and the Revive, send up this Terrakion, and now Michael's going to see, alright, how many switches and Junk Arms have you used? Is there any chance for me to stall you out? And by stall out, I mean just sit there while the Terrakion with no energy is stuck in the active spot and wait till you run out of cards in your deck. Because if he finds, oh, there's like 3 switches and 4 Junk Arms in here, and a lot of energy, then I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I can. But you know, even if there's 1 Junk Arm left, or 1 switch, this game is going to be over. And there's nothing Michael can really do about it. So, looks like Curran is going to play an N, which is questionable. I don't know if he really needed to at this point, but I guess he's just going to use it to try to draw into his Junk Arm right now, or switch, whichever one is left, or even a catcher. I don't really know. He's got to be running low on resources, because he's definitely running low on cards, that's for sure. And his hand isn't too useful, so he's going to retaliate or Land Crush here, and Michael's going to need a catcher here to stay alive. He's going to need a catcher. He's going to need to drag out that Terrakion with no energy, and if he doesn't have any way to catcher this turn, he is done for. There's no real way. There's a Dual Ball. And and he might have gotten ahead. Not sure how many he got there. Let's see. Looks like he gets a Mewtwo. We did see a catcher in Curran's hand, though, so we know that no matter what, if Michael doesn't play a catcher, he's just done for this turn. And let's see, does he have one? There's a Zekrom. And a plus power. Excuse me. And alright, there's no catcher. So we do see the catcher in Curran's hand will be the end of this game. No way to avoid it. And there we go, there's a catcher. So Curran droned pretty well off of end this game, and that's really all it came down to. He will take the first game. Terrakion mans up and takes out Michael's whole deck. So just Forward Terrakion conquers the entire army of Electric, Thundurus, Mewtwo, etc. and takes the first game. So that was a close first game. We'll see if Michael can come back in the series, if he can go ahead and make the comeback, and we'll see who becomes the state champion of Virginia, and we'll see if our camera issues get fixed. Thank you, Ben Potter, for making life interesting. So we'll be right back with Game 2.